Hey, everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan. And in this video, you're going to hear from a big-time veteran in the Silicon Valley. I'm also going to give you a peek inside one of the largest companies to bring deals to investors in this space. We'll also see something that Asheesh Birla recently wrote, and a RippleNet partner is now valued at 1.2 billion. And also, we're going to hear a little bit from Hester Peirce because there's something going on with the SEC. But first, this is Dan Moorhead. He is the founder of Pantera Capital. They're one of the oldest VCs in Silicon Valley. He has this interview with Cointelegraph. It occurred last Friday. I really respect Dan, and I am always paying attention to what he has to say. They have a digital asset fund. It has BTC, Ethereum, XRP. I think Zcash is in there too. And he says something very interesting about price of crypto and the prolonged crisis. I want you to hear for yourself.
Prolonged crisis is not positive for the crypto industry.
I think it's almost certain to be very positive for the price of cryptocurrencies. And, again, there's so much horrible stuff resulting from this pandemic that we're not touching on here. But if we're just talking about the price of Bitcoin or the price of XRP or the price of ETH, it just seems like if you're printing literally trillions of dollars of more paper money, it just takes more pieces of paper to buy anything of fixed quantity. And we've seen, bouts of inflation, over the centuries. This one is not going to show up in the price of goods and services because there's so much excess capacity of both labor and goods right now. But it definitely will show up as inflation in the price of things. You're even seeing that obviously in the stock market. The stock market is supposed to be reflecting the value of discounted cash flows, right? We were talking about that earlier. And I haven't checked it lately, but Wall Street estimates were down 60% for corporate profits for this year, and the stock market is almost at a new high. To me, that is the clearest proof that there's a lot of money sloshing around the system, and if there's just more pieces of paper to buy shares of, say, Hertz stock or the S&P in general, it's the same with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies.
So he sees it as a positive impact on price for, as he names, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and XRP. Now, if we go back to a new subject that I really want to talk about, this is about those companies that really offer opportunities for investors in this space. Now, this is an event that took place today, and there was this so-called battle, and the battle was presented by Link2. It was with Greg Kidd, the former Ripple employee, and Tim Draper of Draper Venture. But honestly, it really wasn't much of a battle at all. They're going to have day 2 to this event. Carolyn Bowler, the CEO of the on-demand liquidity exchange BTC Markets, will be coming on for a panel. I'm very curious what she has to say because, as an exchange that facilitates the XRP for payments, this is another person we need to pay attention to. Now, Tim Draper did say 2 things that I thought were interesting. He does hold XRP, and he also holds Tezos. And Tezos has big news today, big time. So the Tezos platform is going to power the CBDC, the central bank digital currency for the central bank in France. This is going to be for their test run, and it is the first significant test in Europe. Really great. I congratulate the Tezos for getting that, being chosen for that. Now, back to Link2. As many of you know, this is a place, one of a few, where you can go and purchase Ripple shares through the creation of, sometimes it's a security, sometimes it's a fund. They're all structured different depending on the company. And this Link2 makes money on what they call an introduction fee, and it's deducted from the sale or purchase of the security. And keep in mind, you must be an accredited investor. And what does that mean? You have to have a net worth of at least $200,000 as an individual, and that's not including your home, or $300,000 as a couple, not including your home. So this company is where Miguel Villas went to work, and he is now their COO. And of course, he was given his chance to build liquidity for XRP. It's really a difficult job. And the job now was given to someone else. That is in the hands of Aditya Charakia. And I'm really searching all the time, looking for any news that's coming out of his camp, but I can't find anything as of late. He just started. Let's hope he brings his A game to that problem. So I want to tell you that Link2 really primarily is in the business of making apps. And this is one that they introduced back in 2014. You can see this video's only had 3 views. And what it did is it connected you to your bank teller remotely. So you could talk live, for example, to your teller if you wanted to deposit a check, as they show in this demo. And I think, oh my gosh, how things have changed, because you don't need a teller at all to do any deposits of checks, right? I just was so surprised with the apps that you can just take a picture of your check and literally it's in your account in seconds. So in 2016, this company here, Keretsu, invested into Link2. And then they did again in 2017. Now this company, Keretsu, makes its money in various ways, but here are 2 main ways. They screen companies. So they are looking for companies that are looking for money. And when they are looking for those perfect situations that they think they can bring to those investors, they charge the company that wants to present their business idea, and they give them 20 minutes to do so in front of those accredited investors. They charge for that service. And then on the backside, they charge those accredited investors approximately $1,500 a year to be a member of that Keretsu group. So they get them coming and they get them going. The ultimate middleman. And what are they looking for? Well, of course, they're looking for an exit, right? So this is Bill Saris. He is the CEO of Link2. And in this video, which has just 38 views, he was asked the tough question by the founder of Keretsu. So when will the members of the network, when might they see their exit? And what multiple, which is the return on investment, the ROI, will they get? Wow, what a tough question. Well, I want you to hear how that is answered.
Part, and as we build out the app, this app is a journey. It's really not a destination. It's a passion project as much as anything for us, because we love what Kretz has done for us.
So when is exit? When are we going to help Link2 move to our exit? And then what type of multiple, hopefully, our 1.5 million is going to hopefully get over the years?
Yes, I would say we're a lot closer to exit than we used to be now that we're rolling, and now that we're in a revenue stage. It's always hard to exit before you get to revenue stage, but I would say within a year or 2 now.
Right.
So in a year to 2 now, that was in March 2018. So they want to know what that ROI is going to be on the 1.5 million that was invested. So in June 2018, they received another round, and that round came from the Sapient Ventures. They're in Australia, and they too are part of that Keretsu Forum member group. They received another 500,000 according to Crunchbase. So what are they doing now? Because they don't have a lot of offerings on Link2. Well, they are making an app. And this is an app that connects the accredited investors. And it's then sold into the network of the company. It's called Keretsu Connect. And you can see, if I take you down here, that it is a Link2 company. So how much does it cost for this app? Well, you can see that there are two prices. One is available for the members if you are part of the Keiretsu membership. It's then just $90 a year. If you're somebody who wants to connect to the app, you're an accredited investor, but you're not part of the Keiretsu group, then it's going to cost $300 a year. So the business that really connects these investors, here is the CEO, and they're in a new environment now, right? They did what they normally did offline, almost always offline, in kind of big hotels and conference areas, and they served I think lavish dinners or lunches, and then had the dog and pony shows come for a 20-minute period, and then actually those investors that went would then kind of make a decision through a scoring system of which ones were going to be passed on to receive funding. So here you have the CEO of Keiretsu being interviewed, and it's just interesting how they have shifted to this new world. Listen to this part.
Through events, and now with our current situation, things have really taken a step into the online community where what has traditionally been an offline activity for the most part is now 100% online. So we're interested to see how that impact affects things coming out the other end, and hopefully gives more people an opportunity to participate no matter where they are geographically, and then based on their areas of interest. So
I would think that going online is the smarter way to go. And talking about getting more people involved, this really is the segue into Hester Peirce, and she is sometimes called Crypto Mom. And she did a podcast that was very interesting because she believes that there should be more people that have access to building wealth. That if you just offer accredited investors, it's just not inclusive. And she believes that investing should reach more people with, of course, your eyes wide open. But they did take a first step, and I want to play for you that portion. It's really interesting. She's so practical in her thinking. She uses the example how a person who is a repair person of a tractor, for example, is going to know much better and be a more sophisticated investor in a company that's coming to market with a new product that fixes tractors than an accredited investor. So when they have made this change, you're going to see that if you don't qualify with that financial requirement, there is a way to bypass that. So I'm going to play for you that portion of the interview. Let me just make sure that I'm set up in the right area here at the 2237. Yeah, this is pretty much it. Have a listen. Make sure it's because it's a little bit on the softer side.
Now, again, I tend to come from the perspective of, as a regulator, I want to help you get the information that you need to get, but I really don't want to make your investment decisions for you. In our most recent rulemaking on this topic, we took a first step towards saying, okay, we get it. Accredited investor can mean something more than just someone who's got a lot of money. So we're opening it up a bit by saying that people who have certain securities licenses are able to qualify as being accredited investors, and people who work at investment firms are able to qualify. So that is actually a relatively minor change in terms of numbers, but in terms of philosophy, I think it's a big step forward. And what we also did is we said, if anyone wants to come in and talk to us about credentials that you think should make people accredited investors, then come in and talk to us, and we might be able to say, yep, you qualify as an accredited investor as well.
So you can see, if you can present a case that you are a sophisticated, well-educated in that particular area of something that you want to invest in, you can come talk to them and they will make exceptions. So I think that's, it's a first step, as she says. Now the SEC, wow, well, they are still actively ruling on ICOs. Today, after a lawsuit was filed against Unicorn, which is spelled UNIKRN, they had this suit that was brought by an investor living in Nevada. And he made a claim that their token was in violation of security laws. And the SEC today ruled that the company must permanently disable the blockchain-based token. And Hester wrote on her blog that she has a different opinion and that she doesn't necessarily go along with the same opinion as what the ruling found. So she is still one of the best advocates out there for crypto, but in this case, the company, which you can see here, is going to have to permanently shut down their token. It was an ICO sale that they had in September and October of 2017. They raised $31 million. And they did it by getting Ether because it was an Ethereum token. And they're no longer going to be able to now use that token for this full casino website that is for sports betting and gaming. It had a high back in January 2018 of $2.47. It finished today at just a half a penny. Now, going to something that I found that Asheesh Birla wrote. He is a senior vice president at Ripple. And he wrote this article that says your next bank will be a tech giant. Yeah, I'm sure he's right. And I want to show you an example. Because today we also found that the Ripple partner dLocal is valued at 1.2 billion. This is after securing 200 million from an American firm. And it makes the very first unicorn in Uruguay. Now, they didn't actually launch in Uruguay. If you listen to this podcast here, it is Sebastian Kanovich. He's the CEO of dLocal. And they first launched in Brazil, but now they have presence in 21 markets. So he originally worked at Santander Bank when he was very young. And their customers now are, hang on for this, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, and Google. Wow. Talk about growth. And I want to play this portion for you because you're going to be really surprised what he says about growth. All right, have a listen.
Obviously, we're going through a major crisis, right? There are some silver linings, particularly on the fintech space, that are coming out of this crisis. What's your take on this situation?
We are super bullish. We believe a lot on this space. Obviously, it's a space where you need to move fast. You need to have the ability of execute. Otherwise, what I like the most about the fintech space is that it's generally global. You can have a new player coming out from Africa, from Asia, from China, and suddenly you are competing with someone who you've never heard of. And it's something I love because you don't need to be the best of Uruguay. You don't need to be the best of Latam. You generally need to test yourself against anyone. I tend to believe that fintech, I do believe we are on the right side of the economy in terms of all the obvious trends that are happening. Digitalization obviously helps most of the fintech plays. The fact that in our particular space, the fact that emerging markets are becoming more relevant. Chinese companies are not going to find growth in China. US companies are going to have it very hard to find growth in the US. Their growth is going to come from the markets where we operate. So we like the trends. Obviously, the fact that there's a wave doesn't mean that you're going to be the one surfing it. You need to stay up with it. But we are extremely optimistic. We cannot blame the market for that we won't be able to do. That's for sure.
So did you hear that? I was interesting. So the U.S. is not going to see growth in this market, and China is not going to see growth in this market. You're going to see the growth, and he is going into those emerging developing countries, and so Latin America, for example, is just really primed to see that growth, as well as Southeast Asia. So I thought that was quite interesting. All right, everybody, we're jumping to some fluff. And you know what? We're going to stick with this word, keretsu, because it's a Japanese word. It's 2 kanji characters, ke and retsu. And it means, when you put those 2 kanji together, it means like a set of companies that interlock with a business relationship. And the first one in Japan that was really a major one was Echigoya. And Echigoya was a shop that sold miso, and it was also a pawn business. And then that was occurring in the 1600s. The family opened up a second location in Tokyo in 1673. And they focused on selling kimono, mostly just the fabric, not, in those days, the kimono was not, well, I guess you could hire a tailor, but mostly it was a textile where people walked out with the fabric. And so in 1683, it also began to do money exchange business. And the store name was changed to Mitsukoshi. And this is a woodblock print, which is one of the 100 views of Mount Fuji. And this is Nihonbashi, which is the heart of Tokyo. And look at the size of this business. These woodblock prints were called a floating moment in time because they were the closest thing to a photographer or to a photograph, and they would depict life in that part of Japan at that time. That was a big business, both sides of the street. This is done by a very prolific artist by the name of Hiroshige. And then if you take a look at this old photograph here, this is in the 1930s. It is still looking like this today, but the entrance is a little more grand. The building is beautiful. And in 2016, it was designated an important cultural property. And I want to show you what the entrance looks like now. It always is flanked by these 2 lions. There are 2 in Tokyo, one in Nihonbashi and one in Ginza. And if you go inside of the one in Nihonbashi, this is something you have to see. There is this carved 500-year-old cypress wood sculpture, I think you would call it. But it's made of carved wood. It does have like a steel center base to it, so it's not 100% wood, but it is something that took 10 years to complete. It's 35 feet high, or 11 meters high. And it has a celestial maiden that sits on lotus petals. It was carved by this gentleman here. This is Gengen Sato. He was born in 1888. And can you imagine 10 years to complete it? It has 135 diamonds and 12,000 jewels. It's something that you can just walk into the Mitsukoshi department store and see. It is something that I think is worth taking a look at. And when you go in, it's just the presence is unbelievable. I want to show you just a detail of that maiden. You can see how beautiful it is. So Sato-san passed away 3 years after he completed it at the age of 75, and that was in 1963. All right, everybody. Yes, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.